Yes.
Hello there, and welcome to our channel.
Hello?
Today we will talk about a feeling that many people carry inside them but cannot name. Knowing you are worth loving but not being able to feel it. Maybe you've thought about this from time to time. I know I am someone to be loved, but why is there always something missing when that person is around? So today we're going to pursue this question.
Yes.
Someone says they love you very much, but somehow we just can't feel it. Is this really love? Is something like this even possible?
Yes. Well, let me start like this. It's both love and not love at the same time. And yes, it is possible. Because it sounds a bit contradictory, doesn't it? I mean, they say they love us, but we can't feel it. If they love us, why can't we feel it? If we think about it very simply and logically, something like this shouldn't be possible. But when psychology and emotions come into play, things get a bit more complicated. Let me explain it like this. We need to look at this from two dimensions. Because in our relationships with our partner, friends, or parents, the way we love or want to be loved may not be compatible. In other words, even though they express their love for us, the way they show it isn't compatible with us. For example, my parents tell me that they love me very much. Then, in return, they always put me in a difficult financial situation. You know what I mean? For example, when I need financial support, they don't provide it. And they say they do this because they love me. For instance, their way of loving is to prepare me for the hardships of life, or something like that, to help me strengthen my crisis management skills. Now, their understanding of love may not suit me. For example, I might expect support during times when I'm struggling. So, when our understandings or expectations of love and being loved differ, we can end up feeling this way. But we see the most specific example of this between couples or spouses. They always say, I love you so much, and so on. They say, you are very special to me. But there's a small detail here. We need to support our words with our actions. If I don't do this, for example, I say I love you very much. I say you are very valuable to me. But then, for instance, one day when you're with me and you say, I have a terrible headache, I don't care about you. Now, isn't there a contradiction here? Naturally, you start to think this way. If they really loved me, if they really cared about me, as they say, they would be concerned about my headache.
It's actually like not caring.
Exactly. Or there might also be a mismatch in the way we love or want to be loved. Or sometimes, people often express this only verbally. In other words, they may also be inadequate when it comes to turning love into action. So, let me answer the question you asked. Yes, they say you are loved, a lot. But if we are not loved, if we can't feel it, that's possible. Sometimes they just brush it off with words. In fact, they don't really love. Sometimes people might not even know what it means to love. Such a thing is possible.
A moment ago you talked about the ways of loving and being loved.
Yes, expectations.
So how do these form in a person? I mean, do expectations also go back to childhood?
Or is it our way of loving?
Our way of loving or our way of being loved?
Yes. So it actually takes shape in childhood because we grow up by modeling others and we learn whatever we are exposed to. For example, conditional love. If we've learned this, then when someone loves us unconditionally, for example, well, honestly, that's a bit of a therapeutic situation. But we might not be able to adapt to the love of someone who loves unconditionally. Do you know what people do to compensate for this? They constantly want to do something for that person. Again, they're creating their own pattern. Look, actually from the opposite perspective, if you look at it logically, they've learned conditional love. A person who has never gotten used to receiving without giving anything starts giving something to someone who offers them love without expecting anything in return. In other words, they bring their own familiar order with them. They create that unhealthy situation for themselves.
Again, they're following the path they know.
Yes, but it's unhealthy.
We know that you are worthy of love. Let me put it this way here. You know that you are worthy of love. So why can't the person you're with make you feel that way?
Well, as we said before, there may be incompatibility in the way we love. But of course, there's also another problem here. I mean, first and foremost, people truly need to really understand themselves deeply. Secondly, they should clearly and explicitly communicate their expectations to the other person involved, ensuring there is no room for misunderstanding. Look, just before we started filming, I watched a short video. Someone who has been doing couples therapy for 27 years was talking. He says, in his opinion, the biggest reason for divorces is not being able to make the other person aware of your expectations. Open communication, yes. In other words, you can teach the other person how to love you. Yes, harmony does happen naturally, but that only forms the starting point of the relationship, the foundation, the base. We are the ones who need to build the structure on top of it, and that happens with expectations.
So, in this case, we have two options. Either we feel this way because of our own anxieties, or on the contrary, we genuinely can't see any value coming from the other side. Yes.
Now, this is precisely where what I previously mentioned becomes incredibly important, right? If we are truly aware of ourselves and happen to experience anxieties, we should first and foremost deal with ourselves right here, in this very moment. Or we should fix this situation, or maybe the other person really can't gain clarity on how they should love us. In that case, we will guide them.
Maybe the person I loved the most was the one who made you feel worthless. Do you think that's a coincidence?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not a coincidence. Now, let's approach this from a few different points there. First, sometimes it can turn into an obsession rather than love, because there's no balance of give and take to begin with. In the relationship you mentioned, it's like one side is always generously giving, but they consistently can't truly get what they want. That's why open communication becomes important here again. Also, it is important to note that people who truly and deeply feel lonely, especially those who are genuinely afraid of being abandoned, for example, often tend to maintain these kinds of relationships more frequently and consistently, because they're very afraid of being alone. And that's not healthy at all. So I just mentioned the balance of give and take in a relationship. Let me explain this simply. You come to me for therapy. What do I expect from you in return? I expect a payment, right? But you say you come to the session, for example. I tell you, this is our session fee. You say, okay, I'll pay when I come. Okay, fine. You come to me and instead of the session fee, you give me filter coffee, for example. Coffee beans coffee.
But that's not what you expect.
Yes. And in response, you claim this. No, I paid you. Just sell these coffees, make your money. You could even sell them for more and make a profit. But that's not what I expect from you. If you had said at the beginning, when you asked about the fee, I would have told you how much it was. And if you had asked, can I pay you in coffee beans instead? If you had asked that, our relationship would have progressed with more open communication. That's when conflict arises.
Then the decision is up to us, whether it's coffee beans or money.
Of course. But there are indeed certain well-established patterns. For example, it is important to note that, of course, these particular things do tend to vary from person to person. For instance, for me personally, one of the most fundamental prerequisites for truly feeling deeply loved and cherished is to genuinely feel desired. For you, on the other hand, it is compassion that holds significant importance. For example, it's unconditional acceptance. So as you can see, it differs here as well. That's why we need to express ourselves clearly to the other person through open communication. Now, if we return to your question here, if the person you value and invest in the most is also the one who makes you feel the loneliest, then there is clearly an imbalance in giving and receiving. You shouldn't be in that relationship as much as possible. If it's your mother or father, that's a different topic that could be discussed in another video, or if it's someone else from your family. But if you're behaving like this with your partner or someone similar, then first you need to turn and look at yourself. Because if there is an imbalance in giving and receiving in this relationship, why am I still in it? So how are we supposed to feel valuable? Can we feel valuable?
No, we can't.
Yes, the healthy thing is to be able to end it. At that point, I recommend that you take a look at why you can't break up and why you keep staying in the relationship. That's my opinion. Because what's important in relationships is the balance of giving and receiving.
Can we call this feeling we have in the relationship a sense of worthlessness? What we're feeling.
Of course, it's already a sense of worthlessness. At its core, it's worthlessness. But there's also a sense of obligation. This turns into an addiction. For the mind, for the brain, it doesn't make a difference. They're similar things. We use it out of necessity. We have an addiction. We know it's harming us, but we can't break free.
If these are just our thoughts, actually the other person is giving us enough love, but we are the ones who are anxious. Or maybe we really aren't receiving love from the other person. How can we distinguish between these two?
The way to distinguish that is, again, to really know what your expectations are in the relationship and to guide the other person accordingly. Now, for example, you and I have a kind of relationship here.
Right then.
For instance, I tell you that you should be at the office at 12 o'clock. This is my expectation from my relationship with you. Now, I look at it. Are you meeting this expectation or not? Are you adding anything extra or similar on top of it or not? There's no need to romanticize it too much. The brain always wants to feel safe first, okay? If our expectations are indeed being fully met, if we genuinely feel completely understood and truly heard, then it's perfectly okay. But if we still consistently feel unloved, perhaps even deeply unappreciated, that might very well be about us. However, it is crucial that we are always communicating openly and honestly with each other, expressing our true feelings and thoughts. We are expressing what our expectations are. Our expectations are not being met. We are trying to balance the situation. We are constantly making compromises.
Does there need to be a more realistic perspective?
Yes, of course, that is indeed correct. I mean, love alone is not enough. Relationships should also be supported by respect and harmony. For example, I have had several clients who were approximately 50 years of age, around that particular time in their lives.
What do you mean?
I mean, they had always been the ones to compromise. In their relationships throughout life, friendships, romantic relationships, and so on. For example, what do you enjoy doing? Even when I ask such a general question, they think for minutes. They don't have an answer. For instance, they say things like, I like doing things for others, or I enjoy doing this with my friends, and so on. But there's nothing there that is just for themselves, on their own. How do such people generally feel successful, for example?
By making others happy.
Only when they make others happy and receive approval from them, or when they've truly accomplished something good. Only they know how difficult that really is. But unless they get approval from others, unless they are appreciated, unless someone tells them you're successful, they can't really feel successful enough themselves.
If this video resonated with you at any point, maybe it's time to start listening to that inner voice a bit more. Remember, true love brings you closer to being yourself. It doesn't take anything away from you.
Yes, indeed.
That's all we had to talk about today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, and share your experiences with us. See you in our other videos. Take care of yourself.
See you.